All right, everyone, it is time for today's Sunday Super Chat Q&A. This is mainly Super Chat geared, but I will be responding to some Twitch comments as well. We're live there. You should join me on Twitch as well. Almost 4,000 people actually subscribed on Twitch following the feed. Live on Odyssey as well. I'm thinking about upgrading StreamYard so I can also go live on Rumble at the same time and possibly other sites. Half the sites in the internet now have some live streaming capability. You just have to fiddle around with the stream key and things like that. So yes, I've got to wait a moment because I'm going to wait for Odyssey to actually pick up the stream here. Make sure that it's actually playing. I've had a few issues before. So we're going to make sure and also then pause it so we're not wasting bandwidth. Yep. Okay. We are live on Odyssey now as well. So again, this is mainly a Super Chat Q&A. I may go a little bit longer than an hour today because I skipped one of the Super Chat Q&As last month. I mean, I did the Yuletide special, but that's not really a regular episode. So maybe I'll tack on an extra 15 minutes or something like that. Hashtag Let's Go Brandon. So anyway, we've got to talk about a couple of things. I will be making a video tomorrow about DeSantis winning yet again. This is, I think, the 5th time or something. Because, of course, as you probably know, partially pertinent to the AOC fracas, she had come out and said, well, DeSantis has been missing for weeks. I wonder where he is, basically mocking him because Omicron, which Fauci, by the way, and here's another update, just came out and said, well, it's basically inarguable that it's less deadly. We know this from all available evidence that indicates that. So for Omicron, which does have a high case total, but the death rate's a quarter or like 20% of what it was before, vaxxed or unvaxxed. And it looks like it spares the respiratory system mainly, and that's the reason why it doesn't overload the lungs, cause pneumonia and shit. DeSantis has to abandon his sick wife to appease AOC, but it wasn't just her. All she was doing was echoing what had been said by the legacy media then for days anyway, where they were lambasting him. They've done this a half a dozen times almost before. In the initial wave of the disease, they said, oh my God, DeSantis refuses to force people to wear masks. DeSantis refuses to close the beaches. Remember when that was going to be a super spreader event? And then within a couple of weeks, New York had soared past Florida's case totals. And he was right. DeSantis is deploying monoclonal antibodies. Oh my God, he's a conspiracy theorist. A couple months go by. What happens? The WHO, which is the gold standard for YouTube's TOS, by the way, on the subject of medical disinformation, whatever the fuck that means now, they came out and said, well, yeah, as a second line of defense, that's probably the go-to. It seems to work. And DeSantis now, after the legacy media spent days roasting him for being absent during the pandemic, not being in Congress despite appointing a proxy to vote for him, an official proxy by default, he was actually spending time with his wife who's undergoing cancer treatments. Now, DeSantis may be the governor of Florida, but he has consistently said, look, I'm not going to alter people's lives during the pandemic anyway. Why would he take time off away from his family? His wife is going through cancer treatments just because AOC has a problem with it. And he didn't. And now they're all conspicuously silent, because they had put out piece after piece. Where's DeSantis? DeSantis, the absentee governor. DeSantis abandons his people to go play golf or something. Where is Rob DeSantis? Well, again, they took the L on this. So did AOC. I noticed that she's no longer talking about the issue. She pretended that people were criticizing her for her hypocrisy going to sunny Florida and then going around without a mask. She was pretending that people were angry at that because somehow they're attracted to her. That's like, I don't think that's a problem for most people, to tell the truth. And then pretended that it had something to do with her ugly cuck boyfriend's sandals. He's like, oh, they're thinking about my boyfriend's feet. They're just sad that they can't get with me. It was like, come on. What a walking stereotype of the bimbo politician that she is. We've got our super chats coming in. Third man, if you had to guess, when and by what trigger will the CCP collapse? Well, it's collapsing economically already. Their foreshock was years ago when their markets plunged and they had to take a huge amount of private ownership of wealth from the middle class population there, which is burgeoning, and pour it into their economy. They had to shift it in order to cover the loss. They still haven't gotten out of that. And now you have a slowdown of investment. You have their real estate industry burdened with so much debt it's beginning to falter. And that's a huge chunk of their domestic economy. It's going to become a huge problem for China very soon. Startorius, Happy New Year's, Styx. Keep on clanking into 2022. Take some of my big casino winnings before New York State tries to take it back from me. Yeah, you should get out of New York. Not that they won't try to audit you at the state level if you do. They've been doing that, remember? As of, I think it was 2017, they started doing that because so many people were leaving because it's so abysmal there. Cold Summer 91, do you think Gen Alpha will turn out into a new silent generation or a new Gen X? Probably closer to Gen X because of technology more than anything else. Probably less weird than the Zoomers have been, and the Zoomers are less weird than the Millennials. Things are moving in a good direction. The kids are all right. Don't worry too much about it. Polly P. Happy New Year to you and Liz from Free England, trying to cope with Scottish and Welsh lockdown refugees. Well, no, I think England still has a bunch of restrictions. It's just a little bit less. And Boris Johnson, a hypocrite like all the other rich bitches that run the country over there, violating, I think, his own regulations as well. J. Edgar, never got to thank you, but we raised $1,800 for suicide prevention. Thanks again for participating. Oh, that's excellent. HF, take my money. Gladly. That'll buy more energy drinks. I'm surrounded by them. I've got more here. This is for tomorrow or tonight or whenever. It's editing fuel. These are the equivalent of fusion cores from Fallout. Rooibos Energy Drink Fund. By the way, Rooibos, Liz's tea of choice. So excellent username. Thirst Cage on Twitch. Anyone who likes that moron has to have a horse fetish. Yes, indeed. Or a donkey fetish, actually. Donkey from Shrek. They saw the scene with the dragon and they got sexually confused, maybe. Sebastian Monroe. Good morning, Styx. Are you only airlifting soundboard pranks or all prank calls on the table? If the latter, don't forget Longmont Potion Castle. It's only for soundboard pranks. Specifically, in general, the non-celeb ones. So Frank Garrett, Stillwell Grandma, Drug and Alcohol Lady, all these others. Those are the ones I always liked best. Used to watch them for hours instead of doing homework when I was in UVM. Still passed my classes. Will Kincaid, have you heard Tim Pool's song Will of the People? And is there a chance of a music collab or cover? No, I actually didn't know he did any music. Yeah, I don't know. If he asked me to do something like that, maybe it'd be in the works, but he'd have to ask. BW, it feels like forever till the midterms. Do you think they will all pass one of those B's voting rights bills? No, I don't think the voting rights bullshit will pass. Manchin has already expressed reservation with the idea of kicking the can down the road on the filibuster by temporarily suspending it for single issue voting. I don't think that he would go along with it. And if he did, Cinema might block it, actually, because it's not about voting rights. And they know, and their constituencies are aware of that fact. So I think it would be an uphill battle. If he's not going to go for a slim down Build Back Better, and he has signaled that that probably won't happen, why would he go for this one-off issue? Joy Reid might care about it, but I don't think that Joe Manchin does. Cold Summer 91, what will Biden's approval be by 2023? It depends on how bad the economy gets and how long that badness lasts. Keep in mind, a lot of people are saying the inflation won't really disappear until the second quarter of next year. Well, that's getting you perilously close to midterms, and then you have to have a period of prolonged deflation to make up for the lost time. Opinionated Junkie, thoughts on reincarnation? I happen to believe in a non-karmic reincarnation, which is why I don't fear death. The dying part, I'm sure, can be difficult. The being dead part, meaningless. And also, keep in mind, if you're dead and there's nothing, you're not aware of it. It's like before you were born. You weren't pissed off then either. Cold Warrior, I just finished my gluten-free baguette from the baking company in Brattleboro. At least someone in Vermont is making money. Happy New Year. AOC is cute, but that voice is a deal breaker. Well, no, she's not cute. She's an extremely corrupt individual who plays a House member on TV, essentially. She was specifically put in there by the Justice Dems after a casting call that more closely resembles, hey, we need actors and actresses to pretend to actually be men and women of the people, to be grassroots. Bill Howie, did you see the vid of Dutch police attacking anti-lockdown protesters with German shepherds and batons? You might have to move. Now, there's no problems here. It's like I heard that apparently personal fireworks displays were banned over New Year's. I never would have guessed because it was more fireworks than I ever saw in Texas. And Texas is explosion city by U.S. standards. The Grizzly, do you think the left will face any electoral backlash for the inevitable 2022 peaceful protests for whatever narrative the media cooks up? Or do you think they'll go unpunished for their violence like in the 2020 election? They won't face any backlash that they're not already facing for their weak on crime position. Defund the police and stuff. You haven't heard them say defund the police in a while now, have you? Except in safe blue districts. They're definitely muzzled by the Pelosi types. Uper0987, I hope you had a good New Year's. Yes, indeed. Lots of fireworks, good food, and everything else under the sun. Steven13, Florida's awesome. Months ago, I went to the Cowboys versus Buccaneers game. No masks, no Karens, only badass flyovers. Also, I went to another Buccaneers game, and there was a plane with Let's Go Brandon flag. Yes, always lead the crowd in a chant of Let's Go Brandon, because it obviously pisses off leftoids. Chris Kelly, $4.99, no comment, thank you. Mattowcaster, do you think Biden will declare an end to the pandemic for midterms or 2024 election for strategic purposes? I don't think they'll be able to for the midterms. I think that COVID will still be around. They might try. It's difficult to say which of the two strategies they'll use. Do they double down and do the coronatarian thing, trying to screw with voting, by the way, probably in the process in the blue states? Do they do that, or do they try to make Biden look good and say, well, he ended COVID? I don't think it's going to work. Hoystein, good day, Styx. How are you doing today? Pretty well, actually. Thank you. Danny Skeff, if Trump runs for 2024 with the promise of just one term and has DeSantis as his VP, will Peeps still have the age concerns you've spoken about? If he had a much younger running mate, maybe less so. I don't think there will be an age argument over it. If his opponent is Biden, they're not going to be able to make the age argument. Even if it's not, if Biden serves the full term, just doesn't run again or something, it won't bring up the age argument. But if Biden has a health issue and drops, if he says, oh, look, I'm not in good health anymore, I had a stroke or something, or if he dies in office, I think Trump is less likely to run. If he does run, less likely to succeed because he'd be primaried. I'd still tacitly support him, but DeSantis is fine. Rand Paul would be better. I would love to see Rand Paul run. John Madden, how dare you insult my name, image, and likeness after I kick the bucket? I shall haunt you for the rest of eternity. Actually, that comes from a running joke where I said that John Madden's face looked annoying, and my mom thought that was hilarious, to the point where one time she gave me a birthday card that was John Madden, and that was hilarious. Spider Eternal, do you think American lore can expand so that it eventually compares to other cultures' myths, or are we too far along in our civilization's evolution? Oh, no, more lore is added every day. The American story is still on its first chapter, technically speaking. Well, I guess it's on chapter 2 because we become an empire of sorts. Cold Summer 91, Travis and Butthead or King of the Hill? I think you mean Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead, yeah. I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid. It would have given me bad ideas. Dweez Droid, Breeze Boys, Clank from Canada. Do you have your clanking license? Stephanie Littlepage, here's a little something for the Clank Fund and something for the animals as well. Your cats are so cute when they demand a belly rub. Yes, and they do that every single day. They're behaving a little bit better now. Yana is not attacking her sister as much. They're in cat therapy. By the way, over on Odyssey, Clean Garbage. Hey, Styx, look up TFI Global on YouTube. I'll look that up. I've never heard of it. Just a sec here. Inquisitor Jack, under the current circumstances, oops, it went down. All the state needs to do to enact abuse and get away with crimes is use mass media to whip up the morons into, and it says 1 out of 2. Yeah, they definitely love to do that. Desiccated Corpse, Klaus Schwab or Faucist? Who's worse? Well, I think he is a Faucist, right? I think Klaus Schwab has more influence overall, if you mean comparing him with Fauci. Eclec313, if Republicans take the House and Senate, is there any chance they'll impeach Biden? That would be likely, but they can't remove him unless they have enough senators. Will they get enough? That's less likely, but I think they will take the House and Senate. So Biden is a lame duck after the midterms. He knows this, which is why he's still semi-disappearing. Why do you think he only wanted to have a phone call with Vladimir Putin instead of having a normal event? Instead of saying, oh, we're going to have Putin in a joint meeting, people will actually be able to see it. No, he just sends him a phone call over an issue as little and insignificant as the possible invasion of Ukraine. Of course. Stephen 13, Fallout 76 is better than 4, has cryptids like Mothman, Wendigo, Flatwoods Monster, also greater weapons diversity. Now, Fallout 76 is bullshit. I haven't bothered to play it. I watched a handful of reviews and some gameplay and realized that they screwed it from day one. I'll wait till Fallout 5. Cold Summer 91, how long will it take for Bitcoin to become normal? It's never going to become normal, which is a good thing. But I believe, disclaimer, this isn't official fiscal advice, I believe that it will continue to rise over time generally. And that the low it's at now is near what'll become its all-time long-term low, simply because more companies are getting aboard all the time, more banks are dabbling in it, you've got nations investing directly. It's the tip of the iceberg, what you see right now. It's sort of like if you go back to the early wave of social media and you're like, well, my social media page has 100,000 people on my network. And now it's like 100 million people or 1 billion people. But that was impressive at the time. And people thought, well, there's nothing else you can possibly do with it. You can't innovate anymore. Well, NFTs are a new innovation. Blockchains are being fiddled with. Different types of crypto with different features all the time. It's constant. I think it has nowhere to go but up, in my opinion. Gerald Armstrong, watched your college video earlier. I'm lucky because I was in the military and got college for free. Is that a good deal for someone like me? Yeah. Plus you get to learn how to fire all sorts of cool guns. I had thought about entering the Coast Guard, actually, at one point, because I'm like, well, I don't really want to have to go to some foreign shore and spar with terrorists, but you can raid coke dealers, and then they have it in lockup, so they probably sell it on the side and get quite a bit of money. Dano, have you seen the Jack Murphy pics, and if so, do they excite you? And what are your thoughts on him trying to censor people and grift? No, I am not excited by that, and I tried to avoid that story because it's ludicrous on every level. I oppose all forms of censorship, so I don't really care about the story beyond that. I know it's a dumpster fire, but that's all right. Stephen McIntyre. People need to focus on getting right-wing populists in, more MTGs. They won't sit on their hands. Yeah. Desiccated Corpse. Fallout 76 wants to make me punch a hole in my monitor. I'll stick to Skyrim, Fallout New Vegas, and Doom Eternal. Yeah, Skyrim was great except for how linear it was, but with a lot of mods on it, it's good. Matt from Tinder, need any advice on how to be a GigaChad Super Apex Alpha? Jack Murphy taught me. I will teach you. Yeah, I guess that's part of the drama is that he was doing the Alpha Chad thing, which is a grift. You see this a lot of times with MGTOW and people like that as well. Joe Biden's dentures. Odds you break 500K in 2022? Clank from Ohio. 50-50 at best because YouTube algorithmically throttles literally everything I do. I might be more likely to hit that at some point on BitChute or Odyssey or something than on YouTube. Robot Trucker, any crypto predictions? Unofficial ones, yeah, I think that they all over the next year will rise. I think they're all good investments. That's why I have a bunch of them invested. Inquisitor Jack, 2-2A frenzy in the state gets to abuse the liberty-loving minority for years. What countermeasures would you like to see and how do we dismantle the FBI? Unfortunately, a lot of people still believe the FBI was meant to be a permanent bureau and that it wasn't mainly for busting up stills and shit back in the Depression era, which it was. Initially, it was incepted as anti-mafia. You don't have to deal with the same situation today. The FBI overlaps with police at the state and local level. It overlaps with so many other agencies. It really isn't technically necessary. But too few people understand that. So they think the FBI is the end-all be-all of federal investigations. Alex, New Vegas is best Fallout. No, Fallout 4 is better than New Vegas in virtually all ways, especially if you heavily modify it. Fat Planet, stay fat. Cold Summer 91, I went to community college. It took me a long time to get through it, but I don't have any student debt. Yeah, that's another way to do it. Unless you're going for a PhD or something, there's nothing that you can learn in at least a state college that you can't learn in a community college. Rob S., what is your plan when Truth Media comes out? Will you release exclusive content on there like you do with the other platforms? Thanks. Well, their video service is tied in with Rumble. So I've already got exclusives there, but they're on BitChute, Odyssey, and Minds, and Dailymotion for what that's worth at this point. I will be using Truth Media. I think I look at the panic, the obvious panic by the legacy media and legacy tech sites over the fact that it will exist. Their attempt to weaponize the DOJ to look into them partnering with the parent firm of Rumble to get listed and acting like that's not a normal fundamental maneuver for especially upstart firms. They must be terrified. They're doing everything that they can to undercut it, making it sound like it's going to be loopy, it's going to be a failure, Trump failed again, trying to damn it essentially before it even goes live. They wouldn't be doing that if they weren't concerned. I made an exclusive actually today on that topic. Stephen 13, Joe Biden, less than Joseph Stalin. I'm just kidding. Well, he hasn't killed as many people as Stalin yet, but, give him time. There could be bread lines at any point. Michael Manker, favorite books on political theory and thought. Read Republic by Plato. Tony Martinez, your videos killed it today. I shared them to many. Best wishes from a daily clanker. Excellent. Shy Guy Hi on Twitch says, I thought you're anti-video gaming. No, I'm not anti-gaming at all. I just think that gaming, especially in excess, can waste time that could be used for more productive ventures. I'd rather edit a book or, think about new video ideas or garden, grow food or something than I would play video games. But it's good for, beating some time now and then. I just think that it doesn't particularly lend anything to your life. It's basically meaningless work play. The Grizzly. If I invited you for a stream on my upcoming BitChute channel, would you be down for a game of Dungeons and Dragons 5e? I'm going to be reading books from my library. I've never done anything D&D related, so probably not because I'd have no clue. G-Ski, do your cats get into pissing contests around the house like my mom's cats? Yana went through a phase where she was pissing on things, but she seems to have stopped. So we're happy about that. Vrishnik Gupta, why do you think Scott Adams is having so many bad takes these days? They're not technically bad takes. If you carefully look at them, you'll find that they're no-lose scenarios that he spawns. So he'll say something that's unfalsifiable. Automatically, therefore, it is true. And back to Odyssey here. Bizarro, Styx, are you aware that Google is censoring the term mass formation psychosis? Yes, indeed. They appear to be censoring that. You should no longer be using Google search, though. You should be using Brave or Yandex or at least DuckDuckGo or Startpage or something. I don't know why people still use Google for anything that's not topical. They got a good news aggregator, usually, for non-political news especially. Other than that, though, Google search, I think, is eventually going to sort of fall by the wayside like Firefox, especially because of better innovation on by other companies. Rodeo, Cyberpunk 2077, greater than Fallout 76. Never played it, but probably. 76, I didn't really see many people saying good things about it. Clean Garbage, God damn it, Styx, look it up. Stembod, invasion of Ukraine. How come there is no mention of the fact that the eastern part of Ukraine did a referendum to not be Ukraine? I am 100% for Ukraine to side with freedom to leave shit. No, I don't. Because it's predicated on bullshit. It's predicated on, there are ethnic Russians here, therefore it's Russia. That would be so problematic if it were extrapolated to the entire world. In fact, I believe that there have been world wars fought over that issue ostensibly. Joe Mama, is that a rubber tree over your right shoulder? Also, Biden eats his own soft serve and Jimmy's. Yeah, he has allegedly eaten his own shit, and I believe it. Yeah, I think that is a rubber tree. I'm not 100% sure, though, but we'll just call it one. Go back to the main super chats here. Sebastian Monroe, I haven't heard you release new songs. What music program do you use? Would you be interested in singing a few lines for a piece I'm working on? Yeah, possibly. You'd have to DM me on Twitter. I just usually hook up the microphone, although I'd need a better recording space. Background noise applies. And then I use what the fuck was it? OBS, I think, or something like that. No, I use Audacity. Sorry, I get those two mixed up. Bendy Trees, can you do an interview with Dan Schultz from Precinct Project? We need to activate people and get them involved on a local level if we hope to win. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Maybe if you're in contact with him, see if he'd be on board with the concept of a break the rules thing hosted by Lev, though. That'd probably be better because then there'd be a third party there. I'm more primitive when it comes to bringing people aboard. Like the best thing that I'll be able to do probably is during the midterms, I'll be live streaming cross-platform and I can screen share, which means I can actually show you maps as the totals come in, which I couldn't do last time because I'm stupid. And yes, I do know how to bring other people onto the call, so that's an advantage. Desiccated corpse. What will you do if and when civilization falls apart and you have to fend for yourself? I know it sounds like a troll question, but it's a serious one. It will happen at some point. Yeah, but maybe not in our lifetimes. Globalism destabilizes things, but it also gets people addicted to having the materialism there. They are much more reluctant to rock the boat because for most people at the bottom, at the very least, they've got the hamburger and the Coca-Cola at the end of the day. It's weird because it stabilizes and destabilizes in different ways and at different echelons of society. If I did, though, I know how to grow things and I know how to turn them into food. I know how to fire a gun. I know how to make fire without matches and all of these things. It'd be like rustic living, I guess, you know, less electricity and shit. Chris Deviney, is the cat smoking a cigar right under the front of the camera? No, that's incense, actually. Rue incense, my favorite scent. Palindrome, people were chanting, "Let's go Brandon" at the bar on New Year's Eve. I live in Rhode Island, a blue state, so I think this is a good sign. Yeah, that seems to be common. It's taken off in places. It's not just in Wyoming or in like the middle of Texas. It's definitely a thing at sports events and other get-togethers because everyone's tired of Biden. I mean, even in push polls, he's got a 10-point gap at this point. Robot Trucker, you should look into Miracle of the Sun. It's the best evidence for the supernatural I have seen. I'll have to look that up. The Furious Cinnabon, is there a reason you haven't activated the membership feature? On which site are you talking about? If you're talking about YouTube, I don't want people to have to pay to be fucking members and participate in chat or something. Get a little sticker next to their name. Fuck that. Spider Eternal, any plans to read Gulag Archipelago? Thoughts? Yeah, I've seen that mentioned a couple of times. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I got a lot of books to go through. I spend so much time editing books, I have less time to read anything that I'm not editing at the same time. Opinionated Junkie, FBI won't be dismantled. Too much money in it. Yeah, it's a cash grab at this point. By the way, Dark Avenger 42L saying DeSantis is a fraud. No, he's not. He's not perfect, but the purity test, the litmus test for politicians, it can't be someone I fully agree with on everything unless you're going to run for office. That's the way to do it. If you want to be with someone in office that you agree with totally, you should run. And otherwise, you'll have to make do with the fact that even members of your own party or broad ideology, they're going to disagree on sub-issues. For instance, I disagreed with Trump on CIA black sites. I think it'd be a terrible idea to reopen them. His tax plan didn't go far enough, although it was nice overall. The airstrike on the Syrian airbase, I criticized him over, even though, again, it was half-assed. It was to make a point. It didn't kill anyone, but out of principle, there's never been a politician I agree with on anything fully. Ron Paul, I really, really like Ron Paul. Think he would have made a great president, but I don't believe in returning to the gold standard. It would completely brick the currency and make it impossible to trade in the US dollar. Blood on the Blade, thoughts on Pantera, the great Southern trend. Kill is their best album and Razorfist is wrong about them sucking. I'm not a Pantera fan. It's all right, I guess. Not a banned account. If we suspend the U.S. Constitution, will the pandemic end decisively? What power we vest in them will be laid down since this crisis has abated. Yeah, that seems to be what they're going for, the fascists. They want people to give them more and more money and power. B. Tim, have you heard of the Jack Murphy situation? Yes, I have, and I'm avoiding reading up on it because it's horse shit. I don't get into e-drama. Always Tokabola. Fallout 4 worst Fallout. Fallout 76 is Fallout 4 2.0. No, Fallout 4 was a great game. It's just that there were too many linear points. Even Fallout 3 had more side quest convolution. Overall, though, I thought it was a good game. It was better than 3, I mean, in basically every other meaningful way. Walter Blackledge would like to see more cooking videos from you. The mushroom burgers were delicious. Yes, I'd like to have a better setup for recording, though. Me and Liz still have been planning to do potentially in the future a cookbook, but you need better photography equipment. You know, people, I'm not the greatest recorder and photographer of the cooking side of things. I can cook a lot of good foods, but actually recording the cooking, it takes a lot more effort, especially since I tend to be part of the I never edit anything crowd. I think Liz would have to probably handle the editing on the cooking videos. Inquisitor Jack, glad to see grifting frauds getting ousted. Do you think American family law and male-female relations are healthy? If not, what can a celibate bachelor do to improve things beyond staying as such? Well, you'd have to find someone who is good and trustworthy, and a lot of men don't have the discernment, I guess, to do that. That's one problem. I do agree, though, there is a gender differential, partially economically related, by the way, within family law that needs to be addressed. Yes, men are not treated equally in family law. And this is something you talk to an accredited lawyer and ask them which is the case. They'll agree with me if they're any good. Not a bad account. Will you get 6 jabs as the Dutch recommend? Yeah, I don't think that they're going to mandate vaccines here. And if they did, I would just avoid doing anything that would come up and force me to be mandated to be vaccinated. You have to wear a mask in stores, but all the time you see people not wearing them. So enforcement is a little bit on the low side. So I'm not too worried about it. So many comments, so little time. I guess Mama Babs is on Twitch is saying people should be banned or something like that. I don't know. Jim Varney, just got over Omicron with my vaccinated brother and his wife. 3 days of bad chills and fatigue. Still worn out after a short walk. Yeah, that sucks. It sounds like the flu, which, it's devolving into, which is a good thing. Shlomo Begelstein, what are your predictions for the future of Canada? It sadly feels like it's going to spend a good 50 years as a socialist dictatorship. Yeah, there seems to have been no significant backlash against Trudeau's policies. It's actually astounding because Canada and Australia especially, they'd have long records of being fairly free speech cultures, and yet people have rolled over and they're playing dead in the face of fairly severe tyranny. Worse than most of Europe, unless you're in the German-speaking part of it, I guess, which is a throwback to the 40s or maybe the 50s. Desiccated Corpse, do you use a keyboard or piano as well? I'm a keyboardist, pianist, and make dungeon, synth, and industrial stuff. I have made organ processionals in the past, but I never had a proper recording equipment to do it. And I haven't played the keyboard in years, although I play by ear, so I could get through it, and I don't know anything about reading music and shit like that. Cold Summer 91, how long will it take to get over globalism? It'll take a lot of people waking up to the fact that it's really not benefiting them in any meaningful way. It'll take the working, middle, and upper middle classes congealing together, which is why they constantly try to keep them separated by idpol, male, female, gay, straight, your religion, your race. If these people ever congeal together, well, you got 80% of the population, and then they can actually make a government that works for them. This was Make America Great Again. This is populism. That's, by the way, why they're so worried about Truth Social. They've tried to convince people that that's somehow a racial movement or something. In order to exclude large swaths of the population from realizing they can vote in their own self-interest by kicking aside the globalists, the big bankers and stuff. Epic Man 004, is AOC a hypocrite for dating a white guy? I hate her, but I don't know if she has specifically attacked white men. If she has, it's hilarious she's dating him. No, she's not on that side of things. She has a stick up her ass about Republicans in general, but she's a Democrat, so that makes sense. She's in a straight up blue district, so she's got to play that game. I don't think at the end of the day she even personally cares as much. Keep in mind, she is an actress. AOC was drafted by the Justice Dems not because of political experience, which she had none of, not because of intelligence, but because she could read a script, which they would give to her, and looked the part of the young, hip, vaguely Hispanic chick, the up-and-coming face of America and the Democratic Party, and they primaried out a weak incumbent neo-lib who didn't have to run for re-election in an extended period of time, and sideswiped him and knocked him out. Sebastian Monroe tripped on acid during New Year's, watched Howl's Moving Castle. Any other movies you recommend or activities while tripping? I remember taking acid. This was years ago. Disclaimer: I don't support drug use. Hint, for mainly for legal purposes. I watched Yellow Submarine, the Beatles cartoon, and Alice in Wonderland, and thought those were great. The Association of Free Styxhexenhammer. You have beaten down and imprisoned many of our brothers in pallets, picture frames, and even coffins. When we escape this toolbox, we want revenge. It wouldn't be a Styxhexenhammer stream without you commenting about tools. Not a banned account. Do you accept offerings of silver and gold to a P.O. box? I don't have a P.O. box, but yeah, if someone wants to give me precious metals, I'm not going to turn it down. I don't have any gold. I prefer silver, in all honesty. I'm a silver person. Gold is corrupting. Let's look at what it does to kings and presidents and shit. Shaker Silver. So New Vegas is buggy, but you say mods need to fix Fallout 4. When also modded, New Vegas is superior and has a better story and factions despite 9-month development time. Yeah, I mean, that side of it, as far as the interactions and storyline goes, is deeper than Fallout 4, but even that can be modded for. But when you look at virtually all main aspects of the game, I like the atmosphere of Fallout 4 better. I like the basic gameplay better. The graphics, even though for a game of its era aren't great, they're still upgraded from yesteryear's games. I liked Fallout 4. I like the customization of the settlement system, although I hope they do much more with it. By the way, the one little tidbit that we do have about the eventual next Elder Scrolls title is that they're like, oh, we realize Skyrim is a great game. We want to go deeper. Well, my hope is that means less linear storyline. That's number one. And number two, something akin to the settlement system. They were moving in that direction with Earthfire anyway. It's sort of a proto-Fallout 4 settlement system. So hopefully I want to be able to build a tower out in literally any part of the game, defend it against dragons and shit. That's what I want. I am. Gates, Clowes, and Pfizer being charged with genocide. Yeah, that'll never happen. They've got immunity for 65 years. Chad Harris, check out the Joe Rogan podcast with Dr. Malone. Yes, I would on YouTube, except I believe YouTube has removed it along with several others. They don't like Joe Rogan because he's got a mainline audience and he's red-pilling people. I will be covering that as an exclusive, by the way, tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe to me on all of the alt-tech sites, new tech, the new term, that I use. Links in the description of this video, cross-platform, of course. Pariah, $5, no comment, thank you. Steven, toilet paper, are you part of the over, not under gang? Happy New Year. Yes, you are supposed to put the toilet paper on the roll so that it hangs in the front. If you do it the other way, it doesn't make any sense. It's harder to grab, less obvious if it tears wrong. Yeah, I mean, it's an issue of lawful versus chaotic evil, I guess. Jesse JFR, do you need an artist for any projects? Would love to work with you. Yeah, not at the moment, actually. The only art that I've got is cover design for the hardcover templates for my compiled works, and I've already got an artist for that, actually. The same one that's done a lot of art for my other books. Alamandorius, Happy New Year's belatedly, Styx. So, Trudeau called the non-vaccinated racists and misogynists in an effort to convince them to get vaccinated. He obviously hasn't heard you attract more flies with honey than vinegar. Yes, and that's mostly in context, despite fact-checking to the contrary. He was talking about a large subset of the unvaccinated. Now, they use the term anti-vaxxers. Well, that would be more limiting. Here's the problem. They've tried to stretch the definition of anti-vaxxers to simply anyone who's not vaccinated, anyone who questions any aspects of any vaccine, not just the COVID one, so that someone like me who's pro-vaccine, vaccines have done a world of good for a lot of people in history, but who isn't vaccinated, because I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not scared of COVID. I'm not scared, especially Omicron. I'm technically, under those auspices, an anti-vaxxer. So Trudeau would believe that I'm misogynistic and bigoted and evil. Interesting. Chris Wyatt, Africa. Styx, let's get together again this month to talk reason. Happy New Year. By the way, CNN says Anita Blackman. Yeah, we could definitely do that. Send me a DM at some point. Boycott Warhammer Plus. Thou shalt clank. Let my people go. Michael Skibarassi, do you think we can defeat globalism or are we all doomed? It can be defeated. Whether or not that'll happen remains to be seen. The future is not ours to see at this time. JDF 999, no comment. Thank you very much. Seors, I got sick. No test. Fuck the system. Plus, mine the salt. The Everyday Witch. If I didn't already live in Florida, I would move here. It's a grand place to be. Nice weather this time of year. Yeah, that's the only time of year it's nice weather. I guess maybe up in the far northern regions it's okay. I didn't really like the weather there. It's too oppressive. Denine-S. News story the other day said Omicron is sending a record number of children to the hospital. Have you seen anything on this? Well, yes, when you in school tell kids they have no choice but to go see the doctor if they test positive, and you test the kids every fucking school day, yeah, you're going to have a lot of kids in the hospital. Now fix for the number of them that have significant symptoms and aren't simply in quarantine or being checked out that day. Yeah, this tells a different story. Forever V 499, thank you very much, no comment. Cold Summer 91, given how bad Canada is getting, could the US start getting a stream of Canadian immigrants? No, see, that border would actually be defended by Biden. There'd be tanks up on the northern border if that happened. Vrishnik Gupta, sorry. Which band do you prefer, Beatles or Beach Boys? I will go with Beatles. Although the Beach Boys are good, their 80s cover of California Dreamin' actually was a really, really good song, and that's way after their prime. Rob S., have you seen the recent Twitter ban on Dr. Robert Malone? He's the inventor of the 9 original mRNA vaccine patents. He recently went on Joe Rogan to talk about it. It's quite a shock. Yes, I saw that YouTube has removed footage of him too. Surprised Spotify hasn't gotten involved. They probably will at some point. Back to Odyssey briefly here. Clean garbage. Do I have the moral high ground when making an illegal machine because I'm not hurting anyone? Depends on what the machine is, why it's illegal, etc., and its capability to hurt other people. Stembot, I don't mind repeating my question. Invasion of Ukraine. How come there is no mention of the fact that the eastern part of Ukraine did a referendum to not be Ukraine? I am 100% for Ukraine's sovereignty, but as Norwegian, I have to side with the freedom to leave ship. And once again, I will answer to that. The referendum itself is horseshit. It's predicated on the concept that there is a ethnically Russian group within eastern Ukraine. It's not prefaced on a civic basis. It completely ignores the fact that Ukrainians were butchered by their Russian overlords for decades and completely abused under the Soviet Union. It ignores basic history. Russia's hoping that enough people forgot that it can grab up more land. It's just trying to grab up as much marginal land as possible in these bordering countries because it's technically it's economically afraid more than anything else. They've fallen behind China as an Eastern Bloc power, and so they're trying to throw some weight around. Waltarm, with your large social media presence, I'm curious if you get offered money to promote certain views. Yes, more though, I get offered money to promote products and generally turn it down, although I have promoted several coffee brands before because I got free coffee. If I happen to like it, it's like, all right, this is good coffee. Fucking drink it. Back to the main chats. Mad Anthony Wayne. Hearing a Joe Biden dentures super chat inspired me to drop some coin. Check out the Joe Rogan Dr. Malone podcast if you haven't yet. Clanker for life. Yes, people should check that out. I don't think there's anything on YouTube, though. You have to go to New Tech. Sean Kennedy. What's the very first thing a President Styx would do day one? Get sworn in. You mean work. I would announce my intent to support the abolition of federal gun charges for people that are convicted on nonviolent gun crimes. So, they had the wrong weapon, they modified it the wrong way, etc. Next, I'd probably announce my intent to refuse to defend the drug war and the FDA scheduling, and I would ask Congress to get rid of that as well. David Tomac got into Bethesda this year. 100% Fallout 4 and New Vegas have thousands of hours in 4. Want to do Elder Scrolls next and start with Morrowind, but know nothing about it. Think that game holds up? I haven't played Morrowind, actually. Did some Oblivion. Morrowind looks good, though, I will say. Desiccated Corpse, getting really bad here with the Australian police, and I'm on the verge of doing something in MC, and I'm not alone in MC. They're arresting pregnant women. I don't know what MC actually stands for. You should protest or something. Oh, wait, I think that's illegal there. Well, civil disobedience exists. Just saying. Mr. Twisted Frenzy, since most people rarely reflect on the political beliefs, is the mass exodus from California into Florida not a concern for 22 and 24? No, because think of who's leaving. People who don't like Californian policies. This is why people are saying, well, so many Californians are moving to Texas. It's going to turn into another blue state. Well, it went more red in the last election, despite Trump having marginally less support overall, partially because of Hispanic voters, but partially because a lot of those people, they left because they don't like the high rent prices. They moved out of the city and they bought a ranch home or something like that. I see that trend continuing. Florida, I think, will be more red in the next election than in the previous one. I think the same will be true of Texas as well, especially if Trump's the nominee. And Florida, if DeSantis is the nominee, of course, the writing would be on the wall. Ete Veenstra, what do you think of the new Dutch cabinet? The Minister of Climate is the male equivalent of AOC, and Voldemort is Minister of Health. Yeah, Liz, which one was it? Which minister is it that you didn't like? Who has like a substandard education and everything? The Youngin? Which one is that? Minister of Health, right? No? Which one's that? Oh, okay. So Mark Rutte's second in command is like that. I don't care as much about the Dutch cabinet. I don't see any signals that you're going to see any major groundswell changes in the policy. And eventually they're going to have to let go of what lockdownerism remains. People obviously are ignoring it anyway, so who cares? Not a banned account. Will 2022 see the unjabbed in the U.S. put in camps? No, because unlike Canada, there's a working constitution that isn't openly ignored. And unlike Australia. Michael Stephen, I've been listening to a lot of Rudolf Steiner speeches on karma and reincarnation, and it feels so spot on. Your thoughts? Yeah, Steiner does it best, out of the theosophical diaspora at least, wandering off and creating anthroposophy. He's an excellent lecturer too. The Grizzly, alt-right Yahtzees are taking over the country with their black women governors. It's like their propaganda is almost purposely meant to peel the wool from normie eyes. Yeah, it's interesting how like the alt-right label has been retired by all the former alt-right, and now they sound like racial Bernie Sanders mostly. But that's still a talking point for the leftoids. They've got that on the brain and Trump on the brain, and things with regards to they want to burn books, but for some reason opposing critical race theory is book burning. They're living in la la land. It's topsy-turvy. Crimes against humanity. Flu plus corona equals a new god for the branch Covidians. Yes, look up, what was it, Fluvid or something? I can't even remember the term now because it passed out of my mind because it's irrelevant. Flu-rona. Flu-rona is their new term for anyone that has COVID and flu at the same time. The amount of propaganda being used to try to convince people through lies by structure and omission that this is a new disease or something is extreme, which means that we're dealing with a new fascist linguistic tactic. Desiccated Corpse. I hope they go back to Morrowind or Daggerfall when it was all the more non-linear sort of RPG. I love Skyrim so much, though, playing since release. Yeah, a less linear Skyrim knockoff would be good. Just add a settlement system sort of thing. Much less linear. That's what I want to see. Lapse of apathy. I got double vaxxed, but I'm not getting any more. Do you think I'll be okay? Yeah. I mean, I seem to be okay, and I didn't even get one dose, so. That seems to be the case with a growing number of people now that Omicron exists. John Hoyle, always a treat to see your live show. Happy New Year. Yes, we are waiting, by the way, eagerly for 2/22/22, actually in February, so that'll be an interesting time. Actually, there'll be an end times prediction for it, probably. Alex, let people hang TP as they wish, you tyrant. Well, true evil is that you don't hang it at all and you just leave it there. Or even worse, you spool it on like the plunger, the handle. You put a bunch of rolls there and do it sideways. That's when you know you're dealing with a sociopath. Geek Rican Z is a perseverant Christian Catholic. I prefer your political views than the woke nonsense of Pope Francis. I think Christian leftism doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. Not really. The help for the poor part is the only part of it that does. And that gets drowned out in the id poll. So it's not Christian. If you read the Bible, and I did, both as a Christian and atheist, the interpretation that they're using in Vatican II is not exactly biblical. Crimes against humanity, non-binary people be looking like real-life Cenobites from Hellraiser. Interesting. American sports. We hate you too, Styx. Yeah, I'm not a sports fan, believe it or not. I'm not into things like sports ball. Although I will watch the Super Bowl, because then you can go on the sports page on 4chan when it's playing, and you can just laugh about it and pretend that you know what you're talking about and spew off like random shit that doesn't even make sense. They get really, really argumentative about their sports ball teams. Their favorite players that they watch pat each other's spandex asses. Very interesting. Sebastian Monroe. Someone in chat reminded me of that alleged Trump-supporting Native American mailing fake bombs who starts his tweets, "We unconquerable Seminoles." I don't know what that refers to, but from the legacy media lately, I wouldn't be surprised. Desiccated corpse. Webster changed the definition of vaccine to mean anti-mandate. Oh, anti-vaxxer. So according to them, you're an anti-vaxxer if you're against tyranny and terror and totalitarianism. Robert Malone is a hero, and fuck WEF. Yeah, agreed. MC is Minecraft, says Thirst Cage on Twitch. Oh yeah, I get the reference now. Sorry, I had to go through the chats. Pluck pickles, have some caffeine, you fiend. Happy New Year. Yes, I'll be getting celebratory caffeine later, maybe. And I got tikka masala for dinner, actually. I know how to make stuff like that. By the way, I make very good Indian food. Rob S. Elon Musk says wokeness is divisive, exclusionary, and hateful. What do you think of Elon, and how do you feel about wokeness? He's correct on wokeness, but he's a broken clock. Keep in mind, he is still a massive globalistic billionaire. He does things to brand himself. And when everyone else has gone to the woke side to grift off of culture, he knows, hey, there's still that 20-25% of the population that's really against that. And I can get all of their money and stay the richest person in the world. It's pure corporate strategy. Corporations don't go woke or anti-woke. They don't make political statements at all unless they can get a return. This is also why rich people and corporations donate to politicians. They don't do it because they're like, oh, I really think this person cares about America. I really think they care about the orphans or stopping the war. No, you're expecting kickbacks. You wouldn't be successful in business and have all that money unless that were the way that you thought. Ralph Cochran. Styx, on behalf of Dr. Steve Turley, I am his business partner in 2016. I watched you and told Steve to start his channel. We would love to collab sometime. Happy New Year. Keep up the good fight. You inspired us to start our channel. Well, thank you, and you're welcome at the same time. And yes, DM me on Twitter if you have a Twitter, of course, and we can set something like that up. I'm in the mood to do more like appearances and shit this year, I think. James Peterson, Joe Biden superfan here. The big guy has sharpened his rusty razor, ready to eat some Cheetos behind the tool shed. Yeah. I mean, imagine if he gets coronavirus. He's got like 5 different comorbidities. Inquisitor Jack, what will it take for Americans to actually start throwing unelected public sector criminals in prison for crimes against the citizenry? A massive civic groundswell that relies upon an economic downturn possibly to form. It's the problem. Things have to get really dark before dawn. Peyton Walter, dude, I lolled at your Paris Hilton joke this morning. Yeah. I had to throw that in there. B. Tim, do you think Xi Jinping will be deposed by other factions of the Communist Party, or will he maintain his power? As long as their economy remains stable, he'll be in there for life, potentially. They're not going to get rid of him because, better the devil you know, number one. Number two, he still wields enough power potentially to assassinate people if he gets word that they're trying to throw him out. If the economy falters, they'll kick him aside, blame him, and put him in a gulag. And he knows that. He doesn't make non-prudent decisions. He doesn't purposely try to fuck China. He's just making mistakes like any leader, in his case so-called, does. Desiccated corpse. Misspell this intentionally because YouTube Rudolph was talking about a vax removing people's souls. Reminds me so much of normie idiots who comply happily to the tyranny. They act like the Borg from ST, from Star Trek. Yeah, there are a lot of Borgs out there. Deacon Myra, I'm reading your version of Gesundheit, of Gates of Knowledge by Steiner. Brilliant stuff. Cheers from Australia, a nation which is lost to itself. No, it's just reverted to its long tradition as being a penal colony. You had a brief period where you were allowed out of the prison yard, I guess. Steven Styx, what is your opinion on Rupert Sheldrake, panpsychism, and morphic fields? Never heard of them, so I've got none. C Daddy Gaming, you should make a Tribe of Clank and Arc 2 for us. Yeah, I saw that game. That looks reasonably good. Open world crafting and shit. Then there's that other one that's basically the same idea but medieval that looks pretty good. I can't remember the name of it. You know, you can chop down trees, build a house and shit. But it looked like that one wasn't finished yet. It was in basically like pre-finalized stages. A lot of games do that now. It's like even with Fallout, I waited till all the add-ons because I know the base game's not going to be so good and I'll end up fucking paying more anyway. Sebastian Monroe, Caesar Sayuk, that's all who he was. I'll send you a link. Cool. Who what? Trump doing what he can to make Bitcoin legal tender in the US. Your thoughts? Seems like he wouldn't, but also one of the greatest things he could. Actually, another thing that I disagree with Trump on, he said that crypto is dangerous, actually is on the negative about crypto side. I think he'll change his tune if he knew more about it, and he's more of a Luddite than me with computers. He probably would understand it's not a danger to the dollar, but I mean, that's his opinion, man. Homeschool dropout. Good morning from Virginia. Feels smug being in Virginia now that Blackface Northam's on his way out. Yeah, well, I mean, keep in mind your governor, well, better than Northam by a long sea mile. Didn't he also support red flag laws on guns? So that's not good from Youngkin. And what about the whole, hey, I'm not going to have a state vax mandate or anything, but if localities want to do it, they can. That's a knockoff of Phil Scott's position in Vermont. So basically, Youngkin is the new wave of cuck Republicans ultimately there. It's good that he won. It's way better than the alternative. It really was hilarious seeing the Dems spurg out about, losing the state over critical race theory. And he's against that, to his credit. But it's like a C-plus Republican now, isn't it? You got some good ideas, and then you got some that are they're not exactly populistic. Spider Eternal, Dick Masterson's podcast is hilarious. Call in. Yeah, maybe sometime. Schlim, what should I eat for lunch today? Typical woman, can't decide, lol. Tuna melt. Tuna melts are always relevant. Always add sweet pickle juice to your tuna melts and celery to the tuna itself. Stephanie Littlepage. I just have to say this. Let's go, Brandon. A little more for the Clank Fund and for those adorable felines. Yeah, considering how much their fucking food costs, yeah, I need the donations. Keep it coming. They're going to starve to death. Jim Morrison, God using Adam's rib to create woman as a metaphor is an explanation of men having a Y chromosome while women have an X. The rib is the extra genetic code. Ancient wisdom needed ancient language. No, I would disagree with that because when the donation of the Y would have made another man, it wouldn't have made a woman. You need the X for that. So Adam donated I guess that the rib would have to be Adam's X. That, by the way, gets partially deleted in the process of crossing over. Meiosis and mitosis and all this shit that I had to learn over and over in biology. No, I don't think so. Any more than 666 means the carbon atom. That's just a revisionist sort of look. Abe Sinclair, glad to hear you are ready to do another show appearances again. It's been 4 years since we had you on, quite frankly. Please expect an invite from Frank. Sounds good. Benjamin Flensborg, hope you and yours got well into the new year. Well, Denmark has gone nuts officially. No corona passports on private railroads, but on state ones. I give up. Oh, Denmark cucked. Well, that leaves, I think that's like the second or third last country that isn't cucked. So gloomy times are ahead for the people up there with their sugar brown potatoes and their apple cakes. Desiccated corpse, final chat cuz need food. As a millennial, people often blame Australians at our age for removing guns, but it was the boomer parents who did that. Yeah, the boomers also were champions of gun control in the United States. And before that, it was the supposedly progressive minds of the Democratic Party under Jim Crow with Crookshank. But it really begins, yes, it was the boomers that did that. The young are getting more pro-gun by the day, I think, especially now that the leftoids have made it clear they're no longer anti-gun. Oddly enough, this means they embraced Karl Marx more puristically than they did in the past. Lapse of apathy. By my vax question, I'm afraid of the vax messing me up, but took two due to pressure, wondering if it'll still mess me up if I don't get the booster. If it was going to mess you up, probably it already would have done that. The myocarditis stage is probably past at this point. Also, please don't send any more super chats. There are still some to go through here, including on Odyssey. I got to get to them. I know I might go a little bit longer, but I don't want to just do super chats. We can recap the news. By the way, there's how many Biden loser units is that? It's 8 Biden loser units, 8.5 currently watching. 300 users on a live stream is a Biden loser unit. Excellent times. Clean Garbage says a machine gun. I don't think it should be illegal to make a machine gun or an actual assault rifle, you know, the kind that you can't actually buy in as liberals think. Also, fuck the NYPD. Yeah, they're pretty draconian these days. Used to be the LAPD with the really crooked, really brutal ones. You remember Christopher Dorner? Some of you remember Can't Corner the Dorner. Stembod, I'd suggest, e.g., why is Ukraine the West Fault by John Mearsheimer? Other than that, Gott nitar to you and yours. Shka. I'm probably mispronouncing that because I'm not Norwegian. Yes, good night to you as well. Back to the main page here, if I can find it. Oh, no. Frankenstein, here's $5 for that tuna melt advice. I'll give you $5 and spend another $5 on a delicious sandwich. Lol, great show. Yes, the perfect tuna melt, you toast the bread, and you got to melt cheese on it. Regular cheddar is fine for a tuna melt. The tuna, you add the mayonnaise, the celery, and then you drip sweet pickle juice all over it. Or you can add the sweet pickles, but the idea is to make, because the bread is toasted, especially if you have a more firm tuna filling, you want to add more moisture to it. Not too much. Add it to the tuna and let it seep into that, by the way, or mix it into the tuna mix. Otherwise, it'll soak the bread and the bread will start falling apart before you're done with it. Just little tips and tricks. It's the little things in life that make it worth living, right, everyone? Denying S. Blasphemy. Everyone knows you add ranch to tuna. I would puke. I'm not a big fan of ranch, except on dandelion greens in the spring. Then ranch is good if it's homemade. Not a banned account. Why do Canadians enjoy dictatorial leadership? That's the problem. It's not even a dictatorship. It's an oligarchy. Apparently, a lot of the politicians agree with him cross-party. It is kind of like a one-party system. It's not just Trudeau. On his own, he's nothing. He's the little shrimpy hobbit dude who pretends to be tough but has a glass jaw. You remember that? When he was doing the sparring there, and he got hit once, and it wasn't even like a great hit, and he just goes down like a ton of bricks. It was great. David Tomac. As libertarian conservative attorney and fire lieutenant, I've seen tons with COVID, including me, and vax does help with symptoms. I do not think government has authority or right to mandate, but I do hope people get it if medically qualified. That's where I stand. I'm not anti-vax. If a person's old, fat, they have problems, yeah, they should probably be vaccinated. Yeah, get the jab. I don't know about boosters or whatever. I don't even know how many they're on. If you're young and healthy and you just want to go to school or work or something, you shouldn't be compelled. Same with masking and everything else under the sun. Now they're trying to get everyone to use N95s. I'm like, nope. I've got my very specially modified cloth mask that's got one less layer of actual cloth that I would wear if I absolutely had to, like on a train or something. Other than that, where I know I'm going to get checked that I'm wearing it. I go to the store, he's going to check. Nobody cares. Shill him. Thanks for the lunch advice. I'm going to try it. Also, have you ever watched Robert Super on YouTube? He talks about interesting stuff in history. No, I've never heard of him. Yeah, Hoodoo Guru. I can't even read your chat out on YouTube, but that is actually true. There are prescriptions that have been given out to people who are rich, including Donald Trump. You'll remember that he used a slew of experimental and unwise homeopathic treatments when he got COVID. And despite being pudgy and over 70, he survived and did fine. A couple of days later, he had no problems. Now they want to shriek about the fact that he knew he had tested positive, but he still went to meetings. Oh, my God. Yeah, the president of the United States is supposed to just stay in his room and ignore his work. Yeah. Meanwhile, if Rod DeSantis goes to be with his cancer-stricken wife, everyone shrieks about how he's derelict in his duties. I'm sure they would have given Trump a pass on that. Yeah, I'm taking the next 4 days off, America. I'm going to do a Zoom meeting for the next State of the Union address. That would have gone over really, really well, wouldn't it? It would have been great. Not a banned account. Will the hundreds of U.S. Marines denied religious exemptions receive justice? If so, will their enlistments and commissions be reinstated? Here's one thing. Military is separate from virtually every other aspect of life. When you have signed the papers and you've joined the military, you're a GI, you're government issue, and you do what you're told by Uncle Sam. You don't have a choice. Executive orders can directly impact you much more easily. You're going to have to get the jab, or you're going to have to deal with dishonorable discharge. and no pension or college help or something. Hell, they experiment on soldiers all the time. Give them all sorts of weird super drugs and stuff. Remember, the Vietnam War existed. Those guys were doped up to the eyeballs half the time, probably could barely tell friend from foe. Stephen James, I donate blood because it has monoclonal antibodies and it can save many lives. I'm glad to know I'm actually making a difference. Yes, you would have been called a conspiracy theory as little as 2 months ago, back when they were, again, attacking DeSantis for that. Very, very funny. Now, of course, he's prescient. They don't give him credit, by the way. Just like Trump with his Chinese travel ban. Remember, for several months afterwards, they're like, oh my God, he's a xenophobe. You should party in Chinatown. No, Trump is doing bad thing. A couple months later, they shut up about it. They never gave him credit for it. They never said, oh, well, I guess we were wrong. You did the right thing. No, because orange man bad. Same with DeSantis and the beaches opening and saying, look, outdoors, it's harmless. There's no reason for me to close the beaches. Let people get their sun last summer. Buck Fiden, since you answer all super chats, what's your date of birth, social security number, and your mother's maiden name? That's an old joke. I remember that joke about SS numbers on 4chan. That was like 2009 or some shit. Desiccated corpse, had it twice. It was like having a cold. They're full of it all. Not anti-vax, just anti-tyranny and anti-mandate. Look at the government treat its people. Well, also the other thing is anti-fear. There's no reason to be terrified. When the population's terrified, they vote for pig and poke politics and more spending and more government. Does it ever help them? No. Look what we did with the recession, bailing out the banks. Most of that money was squandered. Drink Lime on Twitch says, you are a Nazi. I didn't know that I had a time machine to go back to before 1945. Interesting. Oh, yeah, you were joking. Okay, never mind. I can never tell. I mean, it is Twitch. There are leftoids there. Authentic leftoids, not the pretend ones that troll the chat. On Odyssey, some guy saying, hey, it's not freezing this time. Yeah, Odyssey, I think, is more stable now. By the way, I never actually managed to pause it there. Whoops. Uh-oh. Redwater, Trump got rid of Obamacare pharma and brought in Republican pharma. Yeah, that was one of his main failures, especially the first year. They tried 3 separate times. There was the McConnell proposal, I can't remember what's his name's proposal, the doofus one, and then Rand Paul's proposal. And when Rand Paul failed to get something hashed out in the Senate, it's like, give up. Get rid of the mandate and give up on the rest of it. And he did. That was a success. Biden immediately restores it. But by the way, yeah, look for your taxes after this fiscal year will begin increasing incrementally each year. Not a banned account. Will we have a city on the moon in our lifetime? No. Might have a base there, but it'll be like the Antarctic base. There'll be a handful of scientists. And maybe a space alien will join them for tea or something. Apparently there was a thing they were warning about the fact that cannibalism might break out on any colony that we put on the moon or Mars or something. Or even in like the International Space Station, if something goes wrong, you know, people are starving, they might start to eat each other. By the way, look up the Donner Pass Party if you want a good documentary at some point. Userman19 Wingnut, did you see the IRS now has stolen goods on declarations? I don't know, as a write-off. Hey, someone stole my car. I'm writing it off as a loss. That'll help the rich. Ticklerton on Twitch. Why are the weakest people fond of mandates? Well, I mean, if someone's physically ill, you can kind of sort of get it because they're more vulnerable and they've been told that if everyone else is vaccinated, herd immunity kicks in, they won't get it because it won't transmit. That's wrong. This is understood by every mainstream medical apparatus in the world. Fauci says it, WHO, CDC, all these others. So, you know, I'm not breaking any rules on YouTube by saying this. You can kind of understand, but then there are a lot of people that are more mentally pathetic and they support mandates because the news tells them to support mandates. You know, they can be young and good health and everything else, but they're still terrified of Omicron. Oh my God, if you don't mask up, I will get sick and die. Desiccated Corpse used to be a liberal. Then the liberals went so far, they went communist. You have no right over your body and you will own nothing and be happy. Crazy. Yes, eat the bugs and live in the pod. That happened to me after they abandoned the anti-war sentiment the second Obama was elected. Stephen 13. What if the Democrats make communism a protected class? LMAO. Well, they could make political ideology a protected class, but that would not be good for their attempt to censor people for political reasons online now, would it? So I suspect they won't do that. Rye Guy, do you think China is a paper palace as you referred to in one of your older videos? Yeah, it's definitely a paper palace. And matches are falling all around it at the moment. Rob S, do we have free will or is this a purely deterministic universe? I used to be a determinist, kind of, but then I thought about it and I said that's not really rational because you still get a paradox of if the universe had a starting point. If there's no starting point that's infinite beforehand, there can't be determinism because you're dealing with an infinite system. Even if spatially it's an infinite system and time can expand on forever, you have potentially an infinite system. In an infinite system, you don't have determinism. Not a banned account. When will we find aliens that we can mate with? They probably wouldn't have the same genetic structure, so I don't think that would happen. Although I do predict that any aliens out there, like as not, would resemble humans. I'll tell you why. Because if life exists on a planet under certain conditions that we know to be kind of familiar, water and shit, there's energy from a sun, which is how the life would spawn, it would tend to evolve similarly to how life has evolved here given enough time. So armor, things that increase survivorship and breeding and so forth would tend to spawn. Sexual reproduction. Bipedalism, enhanced cranial space would be a huge boon to any creature that had it. So you'd probably find other roughly humanoid creatures out there. They wouldn't resemble us fully. They'd have different, maybe they'd have scales, maybe they'd have feathers or something, but they would have those same things that are advantageous over the course of evolution. And they would probably genetically modify themselves once given the ability to do so by their technology. So they'd have genetic studies. They'd have laboratories. They'd have microscopy. They would have to. They'd have all of these things. To my balls on Twitch says 3 tits. That wouldn't make sense because it wouldn't be full bilateral symmetry. Another thing that evolution would tend to encourage. Although you could have some radial symmetry creatures that had a good brain. That'd be interesting. They'd be like blob people. Be like a giant sea anemone sort of thing. Desiccated Corpse, what about life forms born on a gas giant? Imagine that. Fattest Karens ever. Yeah, I mean, there'd be differences, obviously, but you never know what those differences would be. I still think the ability to manipulate using your digits, that would be a trait. Technology, certainly, if it arises, would favor that. Large cranial space, a head structure that's like this. It's not like sticking out of the front of the body. Bipedalism or four-legged, maybe. It just makes more sense. Parlock 480, and I'm going to go through these last ones, then I'll stop because we're going on an hour 15. Parlock 480. You and Razorfist are the best political centered YouTubers. Everyone else seems disingenuous and in it for themselves. No, I think there are definitely other good ones. Look up H.A. Goodman. I like Tim Pool's coverage. He's not on YouTube anymore, but Computing Forever. There are plenty of others that exist out there. Matt and Blonde, great example. David Tomac, well, I guess once I finish Fallout 4, probably a few hundred hours left already, thousands in it, it looks like I'll start Morrowind and work way up to Oblivion and Skyrim. I'm building a PC and got EVGA RTX 3090, and some first game will be Morrowind. Yeah, that sounds pretty sweet. Forever V sent $1.99. Thank you very much. No comment. The Engaged Few. Dang, you live in a city where they're using truncheons and attack dogs against lockdown protesters? No, I think that's in Amsterdam. I don't think that's here in Enschede. People here are pretty chill. Cold07. Styx, thoughts on Brian Williams leaving MSNBC? Yeah, good riddance. Now they can replace him with another piece of trash. Sis for Classified. Styx, I'm from Woodstock as well. Thanks for all you do. You have a great mind. Thanks for sharing. Ah, yes, cool. I'm wondering if you mean Woodstock, Vermont, or New York. I'm from the Vermont one, not from the one with the famous concert. Back to Odyssey, and then I'll wrap it up. TDR, alien false flag potentially coming. Total desperation moves upcoming anyhow. You are not in my living room, but you are. Why would an advanced level 3 or 4 civ go anywhere in a spaceship? It's idiotic given the sea of space and time. I don't think there'll be an alien false flag, but false flags abound. And some guy says, so, space furries then. Yeah, potentially. You could have that. You could have some, what are they called? What were those ones? Triffids or some shit? The ones from Star Trek there. The one with, Shatner. What the fuck were those called? Those little fluffy things that bred out of control one time? I can't remember the fucking name of it. Anyway, Marushia Dark, hey Styx, would love to see you do an occult video talking about the Doctor Strange movie and also Avatar The Last Airbender. I could do that, do some movie occultism. Desiccated Corpse, last one for real. Me and my mom saw a UFO in the sky. Not saying aliens or anything. We just saw it floating upwards and fade out into the sky like teleporting. I'm not crazy. No, I believe you. I saw a UFO once as well. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean aliens. Not a banned account. Does Stolas reward you for bringing souls unto him? Oh, Tribbles is the name, by the way. No, I'm not interested in gathering people's souls. Yes, it was Tribbles, actually. I was thinking Triffids for some reason. I'm sure I heard it somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to go off here. We're at an hour 15. Went a little bit longer today, but I got to preserve my voice. Also eat tikka masala at some point. So yeah, that's about all. Peace out.